back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hey guys, so I am here today to talk to you guys about some of the books I have recently been reading. So as I said in my last video, I've had a bit of an up and down time recently. That time is kind of coming to its end, I guess. My family member who was ill has since passed away, and I've just been spending time with my family since then, kind of just, you know, spending time with them basically, and getting to hang out and try and think about all the good times and so on. So yeah, it's been a bit of a mad few weeks, months maybe, but it's been good as well because it means you get to reflect on a lot of things, and you get to really talk to all your family about things that have happened and what you remember and what you love. And I think that's a really nice thing about someone passing on, is that you get to remember a lot of things. So with all that being said, I have still been reading. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel reading wise, but I think for me what I've learned about loss or losing someone is that for me I enjoy escape into a book when it's something hard. It's something that I do like to do, and I like taking the time to sit down and read. And sometimes those reads are not exactly what I'd normally read. They're either a bit lighter or a bit fluffier or something like that, but they're still books that I wanted to get to at some point. It's just I've got to them in this moment because it works for what's going on in my life right now. So with all that being said, I have 4 books that I've recently read that I just want to talk to you guys about briefly. I'm kind of changing things up on how I review stuff, so I think I'm going to do like little batch reviews of things unless something really stands out to me as a winner, and then I'll probably do a single review for that one. So yeah, let me know if you've read any of these books, what you thought of them, and let's just get started. So the 4 books I want to talk to you today about are these 4. Let's start off with the one I read the first, which is this one, Last Song Before Night, which is by Ilana C. Myer. This book is one I've had on my shelf for a long time, actually since it came out, which was 2015, so quite a way ago. And I definitely thought this would be a book that I'd really enjoy, and actually it worked for the frame of mind I was in, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to. It is a very beautiful book, and it's got a lot of really lyrical language throughout, and I think that works in its favour because this story revolves around a young girl who is called Kimberlyn, or we kind of know her as Lynn. She is a character who's run away from her family due to various things that have been going on with her family, quite nasty things, and she is trying to become the first sort of female musician and lyricist and poet of the age. So this is set in a world where creativity is very much valued. It is in fact one of the keystones of the magic in this world, and a lot of people have either magic through song, through poetry or something like that in the olden days, but that's kind of faded away a bit now, and we don't really have a lot of magic in the world when we pick up the story. However, we have heard that there are certain things that could be done to maybe get the magic back, and the story revolves around Kimberlyn and a couple of different characters who are all kind of mixed up in what essentially turns out to be a plot to get the magic back. So I definitely think this is an interesting read. It has a lot of potential, but for me I think maybe it fell into the trap of a debut book, in that it wasn't really as polished or refined as I wanted it to be. I didn't feel like I fully connected with the characters, which was a little bit disappointing because there is a lot of potential here. I also think that the magic system, although interesting because it is based on music and all this sort of thing, just didn't really go as far as I wanted it to in terms of showing us magic at like being used. I wanted more than I got. Maybe that's just me being greedy, but I wanted a little bit more. So overall I ended up giving this a 2.5 out of 5, very middle of the road. It wasn't a bad read, but it also wasn't one that I think will really stay with me that much. However, I am intrigued where it's going to go from this point onwards, because I know there's a second one. It might go a different way from where I'm thinking, because I kind of thought this was a standalone when I first picked it up, and I feel like it could have been, but there is a sequel, so I'll be interested to see what happens in that one. I will read it just because I'm intrigued enough to find out. So 2.5 for this one from me, but what did you guys think if you've read it? Next up, I have started a series, and I'm actually going to be reading the final one in the series soon, but I decided instead of waiting, I'll just review the first two for you here. So the first one in the series is Blood's Pride by Evie Manieri. I think that's how you say her name. Probably not. This is the first in the Shattered Kingdoms, and the second one in the Shattered Kingdoms, which I've also read, is Fortune's Blight. So this is set in a world where the people are divided. There are two different types of people. We have the Shadari, who are kind of like a slave race, and then we have the Dead Ones, or the Norlanders, I think they're called, who are this race who kind of came in and subjugated the Shadari and kind of took over quite a few years ago, I think about a generation before we start the first book. And we follow a collection of different people, some from the Shadari and some from the Norlanders. Each of them has their own part to play in the events that unfold, and we're following quite a few of the sort of ruling family of the Norlanders in this part of the world. So it's set mostly in a desert where one of the Norlander families has been banished to. And we're following them and the struggles of the younger generation in that family to kind of hold on to power when their father is dying and their mother's already gone. So we're following each of them. There is Eofor, who is, I believe, the oldest, and then we have Freya, who is the middle child, and Issa, who is the youngest child. None of them are particularly young at this point, they're all sort of teenagers. And Eofor is sort of destined to take over from when his father dies, which could be very soon because his father is quite ill. And then we have Freya, who's already taken over the command of the armies. She's very bloodthirsty, very much your classic fighting warrior kind of character. And then Issa, who is just a little bit lost when the story begins. She doesn't quite know where her path is taking her. So I enjoyed all of them, and I think they were all very well developed to be individual characters. They felt very unique. However, with that being said, I don't think I connected as much as I wanted with the characters. And so the first book is largely about the Shadari race kind of fighting back against the Norlanders, and it's all building up to this big war. And then the second one is where the Norlanders that we've been following, the ones who do survive, end up going to the Norlander kind of empire and meeting the emperor there and kind of trying to take back some of the power that the Norlanders have squashed, and maybe give it a little bit back to the Shadari people as well, who kind of deserve it. There's also some sort of plague thing going on in the second book, and it's all about that really. Also we have the Mongrel, who is a character who no one really knows where she came from, except for her, but she's very secretive, and she's like this notorious kind of character who goes around defeating everyone she encounters, but she's also a very elusive character and someone who you don't really want to get on the wrong side of. So it was quite interesting to follow her story as well. She's quite mixed up with all the Norlanders as well as the story goes on. So yeah, definitely enjoyed both of these. I think I gave the first one a 4 stars and the second one I think about 2.5, 3. I didn't like the second one as much, mainly I think because it felt quite a lot more fast paced. I didn't feel like there was as much development. You can see that the size difference, this one's definitely not got as much going on. But with all that being said, I still want to kind of go on to the next one in the series, which is Strife's Bane, so I'll definitely be picking this one up. I think this is the last one in the Shattered Kingdom series, so it'll be interesting to see how everything wraps up. And then the final one that I have recently read is A Skinful of Shadows by Frnaces Hardinge. This is the second Frnaces Hardinge book I've read. I read The Lie Tree by her maybe a year or so ago now, quite a while, and I really enjoyed The Lie Tree. I thought it was quite a fun, darker, more of a teen book, and I definitely enjoyed it. I think it's quite a different way of writing middle grade or children's fiction really. I think she has a darker undertone to a lot of her books, and she deals with some darker topics than other authors are willing to get into. They are all kind of fantasy inspired, but the fantasy elements are a little bit more subtle than in other books, I feel like. So in this one we're following a girl who is called Makepeace, and she and her mother live in this very holy village. She's been raised there pretty much all her life, it's all she can remember, but she doesn't know anything about her father really. She's always asking her mother about him and trying to find out more, but her mother is extremely strict and trying to look out for her, and she kind of doesn't have the best relationship with her mother because she feels as though she's kind of pushing her to do things, but really her mother just wants to protect her. So one day she goes into London with her mother, and her mother ends up dying in a stampede there, and we follow her story from that point onwards, when her relatives on her father's side come and take her away, and they kind of have all sorts of nefarious deeds going on in the background. They are a very well respected family, but they have a lot of ties to darker kind of elements, darker powers, and there's ghosts involved as well. So what I loved about this is that it came at the right time for me. It was exactly the kind of read I was in the mood for, and I didn't realise it, and I audiobooked it, and I think that was a great way to go. I really enjoyed the characters once I got to know them. I feel like at first I was like, this is okay, but then later on there are characters who I really enjoyed, particularly Bear. I think is a character that I really liked and connected with. I also did like Makepeace by the end. I feel like she ends up having a lot of integrity and kind of looking out for the people she really cares about, which is great. But I don't think that it's anything too revolutionary. It was a fun read and it was really what I wanted in the moment, but I don't think it's one that I loved as much as I wanted to. It had a lot of good moments, and I think that's what I wanted, and it kept me reading as well. It was definitely one of those books which is a page turner and very easy to get through. I read it in a day, so it's very short. It looks chunky because it's a hardback, but actually it's quite short. It's just a nice read, so I think I would give this sort of a 3.5. I think that I actually did enjoy The Lied Tree slightly more, but I think they're both really good reads, and I'll definitely pick up more by Frances Hardinge as time goes on as well. So those are the 4 books I wanted to talk to you guys about. I'd love to have any comments you have about them in the comment section below, or just let me know what you guys have been reading as well recently. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye guys!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.